In the studio with me, Anjali Bhardwaj, Apar Gupta and Manisha Pande.
In the IT Act or the RP Act, below 20,000 rupees, if there was a donation that was made to a political party, they did not have to tell the source of that donation. So typically, let's take an example that Mr. A or a company A wants to give 20 crore rupees to a particular political party and does it in cash. So the political party will just break it down to a denomination of less than 20,000 rupees. It just requires creative accounting.
Transparency and privacy are not ends in this self. You can't tell the citizen you need to be completely transparent and you have no privacy. And the state says we have all privacy, or a political party or our friends do, and no transparency. These both are doctrines to question and equalize power in a deeply unequal society.
Do not give foreign funds to media organizations or NGOs because you can influence policy. But political parties who make policy, them you can give. So if someone wants to influence, why will they go like this? You'll just it's like in Chhota Hafta. Would you rather deal with the broker or the party? You deal with the party, no? And
what do the electoral bonds do? I mean, earlier the limit was 20,000 rupees. Today we have bonds worth about 20,000 crore rupees that are being transacted without anyone knowing where that money is coming from. So they have, in the name of transparency, completely destroyed the framework of the right to information, of the voters' right to know.
Now coming to the second issue.
India is looking to spend, I think, from about $16 million to $120 million over the next few years to procure the spyware. This report in Financial Times is in March. And now Apple sends out alerts.
In Umar Khalid's case, the Delhi police cited media reports that he's made these, hate speech and he's incited violence. Those media reports were quoting Amit Malviya. Amit Malviya's tweet, he has tweeted this, look at this. So it's a very sinister loop in some cases.
The target profile needs to be seen. Who will be interested in snooping in the phones of 10 opposition MPs, the head of an influential think tank?
I can think of someone who will be interested, but she may not have the resources.
Why?
Navika.
यार वो तो
सबके WhatsApp वो कर देती. Welcome to Chhota Hafta. Now Chhota Hafta is but a small, chota version of a complete weekly podcast, Newslaundry Hafta. The Newslaundry Hafta is where you get the week's news, what made the headlines, what didn't make the headlines, but the full version is available to subscribers only. And I don't mean YouTube subscribers, although YouTube subscribers are also very welcome, very, very grateful to you, but also to Newslaundry subscribers, the paying subscribers who pay to keep news free. So you can also become a paying subscriber by clicking the subscription link. Now what do you get if you're a paying subscriber? You get access to all our paywall content, all interviews, podcasts, and importantly, you get access to a full unedited Hafta, where you not only get to hear the week's news, but you get to hear the Newslaundry editors' positions on matters. You get to see their biases, what are their prejudices. It's an exercise in transparency while also informing you, and we have a few quips and jokes and agreements and disagreements thrown in. So listen to the full Hafta, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free. Here we go. अंग्रेज अपना लगान और Newslaundry अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of Hafta from a very, very polluted Delhi. Depending on where in Delhi you are, the AQI you are breathing, the air you're breathing, has the air quality index of between 400 to 730.
And Apar coughed on cue.
On cue. We will tell you who are...
सांसों में इतना वो कौन सा है वो ad जो films के आ गया था हमेशा, that tobacco ad. We can actually it can just be an ad on Delhi without the cigarettes.
Don't live in Delhi.
What is that iconic line?
But considering the Supreme Court is here, the parliamentarians are here, one would think they'd be a little more concerned. But no, today is an exceptionally polluted Delhi day, like the pre-pandemic level. We've had 3 very good years and we've forgotten what it was like. Well, this is what it's like. We have 2 guests who are domain experts and not regular journalists. They're actually columnists, but they have full-time pursuits, which is not just writing. It is either academic in nature. Let's start with the electoral bonds issue. In fact, we were discussing today, Anjali, with my colleagues. The case is, the petition is only challenging the anonymity of the bonds, not that electoral bonds shouldn't be allowed per se. Is that correct?
Abhinandan, basically, just to give a very short background, when the electoral bonds were brought in, before the electoral bond scheme came in, there were amendments that were made through the Finance Act to 4 laws. The RBI Act was amended to say that bonds can exist because they're basically promissory notes. So the RBI Act was amended. The Income Tax Act was amended. The Representation of People's Act was amended. These were amended to say that political parties will no longer need to report on how much money they're getting through electoral bonds. And there was an amendment made to the Companies Act. So 4 laws were amended. These were very regressive amendments if you look at it from the point of view of democracy and people's rights. And eventually the electoral bond scheme was brought in, which lays down the framework for how the bonds will be transacted and what will be done. So this particular case is really looking at those 4 amendments to the laws and looking at the validity, the constitutional validity of
all 4.
Of the amendments that were made and the electoral bond scheme. So basically, electoral bonds, they say, are bonds that can't be traced. And when the then finance minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, introduced it, he said, we are doing it because we want to give anonymity to donors who don't want to give money because they're worried that they'll be targeted, basically by the ruling party if they get to know. And therefore, they give in cash. So black money is generated. So they said, therefore, we want to give anonymity. They can just buy electoral bonds. Nobody will know. Except that now it's a very open secret that these bonds carry a number which is visible under the UV light. And of course, now even in the court, they're not making any bones about it. The SBI is, of course, it's a government entity.
It reports to,
and of course, the Solicitor General is saying that the SBI is saying we don't give it to anybody. But if the government so wants, they can ask for it to be shared. So,
but they won't because they don't want to know anything.
So yes, that whole premise that we want to give anonymity to donors so that they can actually donate via, banking channels without the fear of any kind of action against them, just falls flat.
I think, Abhinandan, if you look at what's happened to the civil society sector, it has been, over the past 3 years, a very concentrated emphasis on regulatory compliance, which essentially demands that the head of the organization, as well as a single accountant, is devoted towards regulatory filings, which are becoming more and more detailed. And essentially, it may mean that, we need to maintain better books of accounts and things like that. But the thing is, the same compliances are not visited against political parties in the same way. And why should I say political parties? Let me say a political party. Let me be direct about it. Okay. If you look at reports which are coming out, most of this has been driven by a anti-money laundering agenda, which is the Financial Action Task Force. And actually, it's now doing a shadow investigation into whether...
There are no powers with the SBI to refuse this information to the government, right? To the center. There's nothing in the law that says that they have the right to...
RBI cannot refuse that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't...
What else SBI kya cheez hai?
And also the state's... Tushar Mehta's statement that political affiliations form the core of inner life. What? No, inner
Privacy.
Core of a person's private life. That may be true for political affiliations, but donations are not affiliations. And there is a big conflict of interest component there. I thought it should be completely the opposite, that it should be absolutely in the public domain.
So when you're getting money into a political party, you can be sure that that political party is going to work to take care of the interests of those who are giving them money. So as a voter, when I go to vote, I mean, most people in the country don't vote for individual candidates. Kamal ka phool, haath pe ka panja, people vote for parties. So they need to know, as a voter, they have the right to know who is funding these political parties if they have to make an informed choice. So the whole rationale for less anonymity came from there, that as a citizen, as a voter, I should have a right to know when I go to vote, who am I voting for? Who are they going to make policy for if they were to win and were to come to power? We know how powerful political parties are. I mean, there's a whip that is there. They decide policy when they come to power. They decide what are the laws that are going to come in. I have a right to know. And the whole black money economy is really getting...
We have just opened the joint News Minute, Newslaundry joint subscription. So now if you subscribe to either one of us, you get both paywall content for free. You will get both our newsletters. So it's a fantastic opportunity to actually be a part of this collaboration where you want to do a lot of work with them. In fact, we'll also be covering the 5 assembly elections in partnership with the News Minute. So Manisha, Atul and their teams are going to be traveling, as will Dhanya Rajendran and her team. So do contribute to that fund, which is the NL TNM election fund. It's in the show notes, so you can just go to the newsminute.com or you can go to newsline.com and do please contribute, because the only way journalism and any public interest work will survive is if you pay for it. If we are left to Sarkari ads or Adani ji's ads or Mukesh Bhai's ads or Yogi ji's ads or Arvind Kejriwal's ads or Modi ji's ads, then that is what we will be doing. So you have to step up. $100, $200, $300, $1,000. Those of you who are making a lot of money, I know many of you are, can give a little more. Now coming to the second issue, which is the Apple compromised phones alert that Apple sent out. I didn't get any, so clearly I don't matter. So one thing I found interesting was that as soon as this went out, even before Apple gave a statement, before any minister or government spokesman gave a statement, all the channels and most notably Maria Shakil of NDTV were saying this is an algorithmic malfunction. Sources are telling us, government sources are telling us, this government sources, and just making up shit as they go along. Complete nonsense. Clearly they had no clue what they were talking about. About 3-4 hours later, Ashwini Vaishnav gives a press conference saying, as per media reports, this is an algorithmic malfunction or whatever he says. So I'm like, you're quoting them, they are quoting you. Who like, you know, who is the credible? I just find it bizarre how legacy broadcast media don't even pretend to be doing a job of questioning anyone. But on this, you know, privacy and security, Apar, you've been working so much on, you know, on this aspect. It still is not looked at as a fundamental right. Clarify for our audience, for me, for our staff, where does privacy end and you know, the government's right to know start?
What we are seeing are attacks on extremely privileged elite sections of society through sophisticated attacks and intrusions into their devices. And these elites or public officials are happening to be people who either raise questions on the government, happen to be from the opposition, or are also a part of the same regime. But here's the thing with a peeping Tom. A peeping Tom also peeps into their own home. I would just recommend people just go to YouTube, go to Ashwini Vaishnav's YouTube channel. I've written on it today in the Indian Express. I've taken his statement to the press. It's a 7-minute statement. Please watch it. Statement after statement which he makes there is false. First, he says this is an advisory, making it appear like Apple has discovered some vulnerability and has informed everyone. No, it's an alert. Second, he says that 150 countries. Third, he says that this could be a false flag, it's vague, etc. We have set up I'm very serious, I've set up an investigation. Okay? Hello, boss. You have already said this didn't happen. Yes. The investigation is done by a subordinate officer of your office under the computer emergency response team. You handle their promotions, their entitlements, their transfers. You're expecting them to disagree with their boss. Like, seriously, man, look, get real. And finally,
where does citizens' privacy end and where does the government get a right to do all of this? And the simple answer is wherever the government decides. Because it's just so much arbitrariness that we are seeing. I mean, in the name of privacy of individuals and protecting our data, they've brought in this digital personal data protection bill. And what does that bill do? I mean, what does that act do? It's so blatant. It's just a law which is saying that the central government will decide who can collect, who can store, and who can use personal data and who cannot. The need for data protection was there, the need to prevent surveillance, the need to make sure that anyone can't snoop in anywhere, including the government, was there. But what did the Digital Personal Data Protection Act do? It just goes ahead and says that...
I mean, it's rather dismal and bleak, the governance architecture that is being redrawn. And at the center of it is an all-powerful, very centralized...
It's 700 AQI governance. Let's call it that. Okay.
Yeah, man, it is.
Sri Lanka has this law where a member of parliament, they have to tell an authority what their assets and liabilities are, but you cannot, the public cannot know. And as a citizen, I can buy that information for a fee, but if I disseminate it widely among the public, I'm liable to be in prison for 2 years. So when I read this, I was like, India is so good. At least we are not like that.
We don't even have an option.
But I was like, how long? But now the question is how long? Like next they'll come, you cannot know the asset and liabilities of your elected representatives. Band karo sab.
No, we don't.
Bas, muft mein itna ich milega. For the full uncut podcast, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free. The best way to listen to the Hafta and indeed all our podcasts is through the Newslaundry app. You can download the app by clicking on the links given in the show notes. So do download our app and get the best podcast experience. And also pay for news and support a new news media ecosystem that Newslaundry is trying to encourage, where we are accountable to you because we run on contributions that you make. We don't take government ads, we don't take corporations ads, so that news serves the public, because when the public pays, the public is served. Subscribe to Newslaundry, click on the link in the show notes below and proudly say, I pay to keep news free.